All right, here we go. This is Jose Trujillo, world's greatest living artist. That is world's greatest living artist. Let's do a painting. Join me for painting. Let's see this. Let's start out with an outline. It's going to be a black outline. We'll see how it goes from there. Okay. This is just for fun. I've been wanting to do this painting for a little while. Maybe you've guessed what it is. I don't know. This is real time too. There's no speed stuff here. I'm not speeding anything up. It's just me painting. Something like that. How's it going, Kim? How's it going, beautiful people? Something like that. So I've been doing some work lately on different stuff that has moved my interest. And this is, of course, one of my favorite themes. Usually when this type of work is painted, it's very dark. And it's usually in murals. So this is a completely, maybe a different way of looking at it. And then there's some people that like to do impressionistic work of Mexican charros or Mexican cowboys, and still try to do it, even though they say it's impressionistic, still try to do it realistic. Some people try to do it photographic. I just like to do it different. I think so many people try to do it, use realism. And that's where I think that also it gets kind of lost. The image gets lost. In realism, I feel like sometimes the image just gets lost. I know it sounds strange, because you would think, right, that in realism the images don't get lost. Where they get lost is in abstraction. But I think differently. I think many times certain themes people try to do extremely realistic, where I believe that they get lost. Once they get lost, it gets hard to bring him back again. That's me anyways, in a row. The more and this practice will give it to you, right? But the more realism you demand from a painting, it's almost like the painting doesn't want to give it to you. When you're doing loose brush work, so you have to ask nicely. You have to ask nicely to a painting if you want something to, you want to represent something, because they can be shy painters. Sometimes can be shy. I love that. Robbins says, this is totally how I envisioned you painting. Awesome. I love your flow. Thank you so much. And it really comes down to that. It comes down to the flow. It's almost like asking permission, right? It's like asking permission to... you guys remember watching, those of you who remember, Aladdin? I was a little kid when it came out. I remember before he entered the cave, right? He needed to ask permission, I think, before he entered the cave. In the first scene, the first scenes to when he got out of, I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't watched it, but it's an old movie. It's an old Disney movie. He had to ask permission to enter the cave. It's very much the same way I see artwork. It's almost like you have to ask permission to the art gods, put it that way. And one way to do that is through practice. Practice will give you that permission, right? Because you start trusting yourself. It's intuitive. You start trusting yourself, and then that's when those things happen. That's when your magic happens, when you start trusting. And I believe that the only way to trust, not the only way, I think there's two ways. I think one of them is you have to be very zen. And I think that that's more difficult. You have to be very, very much at peace. But I think that that's more difficult based on my experience. The other way is to have so much practice, daily practice, right? That you essentially, because as I mentioned before, it has to do with the way you feel about yourself. So if you feel down, if you don't feel like you practice, like you haven't done your job, you haven't put in hours in the art studio daily, then your belief in yourself is going to go significantly low, right? So that's why I say you have to almost ask permission to the art gods Otherwise, it feels a little bit harder to enter. To enter the place where you feel like you have the Midas touch. Anything that you touch, all of a sudden becomes good. It becomes good. To you, not to everybody. I can't convince the whole world of what I'm doing. Right? But to me, where I feel like, oh man, I'm good. Like, oh yeah, I am good. You start feeling that it's due to a couple of things. One of them is that you practice, so you feel the part. This is a good hombre, by the way. This is what my dad looked like when I was growing up. I'm from Guadalajara originally, and this is what my dad looked like growing up. This is what he looked. He had these big sombreros on. So yeah, he grew up with a tough guy like that. And again, these colors are not really the colors that you would use in this type of paintings, right? Usually this painting's done by Orozco, Siqueiros, and what's this other guy's name? The one that was married to Frida, Diego Rivera. The paintings were more obscure, more dark, right? There were commentaries on what was happening during the Mexican Revolution. They were different, right? They were darker, very dark paintings. And the commentary was dark too. There was a lot of blood happening. It was a civil war. So, when I paint them, because I'm happy like that, because I'm happy. I'm not that happy, guys. Just joking. My paintings look like that. Right? They look darker. They look darker. They look brighter. The reference photo for this is an old photo of one of my favorite movie stars, singers from the golden age of Mexican cinema. This is Jorge Negrete. Now this is not Jorge. I didn't try to paint Jorge Negrete. Had I tried to do that, maybe need more time to do that. This is an intuitive work of art, so I don't have that much time, right, to try to get an exact likeness. But I did get it from a photograph of Jorge Negrete. I think he's a famous singer, actor from the golden age of the Mexican cinema, 1940s to 1950s. No, I think he started in the 1930s to the 1950s, somewhere around there. I think, if I'm not mistaken. They mention him in the movie Coco, the Pixar Coco. I think it's Pixar, by Disney movie. He comes out for like a millisecond. For those of you who want to know who he is, I think he used to sing opera. He was an opera singer, and then he went on to singing popular music, which was ranchero music, right? The music of the people. This type of music was usually the compositions of the people of rural Mexico, right? The songs talked about different things, right? There were ballads, some of them were love songs, some of them were what it's called Canto Bravío, which is the song about being tough. So that's what it was about. It's called Canto Bravío. And brave, right? Brave song. And usually had to do with someone being cocky or someone taking care of business, defending honor. And it was usually done in some form of violence, right? Of course, because that was the old world, right? You can't have honor without violence. In the olden days, so someone had to get hurt. Someone got hurt, right? And then we had the love songs. I mean, it was different things, right? Some of the songs were about a rancher's life. These were the first. For those of you who don't know, these were the first cowboys in America. Very much came from the line of the vaquero from Spain, and they changed some stuff, some of the attire, some of the clothing, and made it more, mixed it more, some indigenous things, some European things, and it was a mix mash, right? Because they had to make it. It had to become Mexican. It could no longer stay Spanish, right? So the type of clothing is called charro, right? Traje de charro, and Charreria is actually the Mexican national sport, which is the Mexican rodeo. We don't have. It's not baseball over there. It's rodeo. And these guys do different stuff, right? Different stuff. It really started as ranchers showing off their skills amongst one another and doing little competitions and kind of, just being cocky, showing off their horsemanship skills and roping skills, and they were very good with their firearm and all of that. So they're just showing off until it became a sport. Someone started organizing it and it became a sport. They're extremely famous where I'm from, which is the state of Jalisco. And I just wanted to paint one in my style, because, why not? And again, usually when these are painted, they're painted with very dark colors. So I am really, or if they're painted in realistic colors, realistic in a realistic way, it's usually sort of realism, impressionism, and it's not so loose, right? I've done a few loose ones, but I haven't done one live like right now. I wanted to show you that. I think the mustard needs to be a bit more. There we go. Make him look a little tougher. He means business. Look at that eye. He has to mean business, no? They were considered I think they still are. They're the symbol of Mexico. and I wanted to pay homage to this figure. This is what, again, those of you just joining in, this is, I grew up with a person looking like this. My dad used to look like this. He used to have this type of clothing. El traje. So this is a pretty cool thing to be around that. That history that is kind of lost, you know. It's not lost completely over there. I think they still practice a lot, but it was a complete way of life for many people. Now I think it's more for the people that participate in the sport. But back in the day, you didn't have to participate in the sport or play mariachi music to look like this. This was the way people dressed up. Right. This was the way we dressed up. It wasn't a. I remember, because that's the way my dad dressed up. Right. I didn't get to see it that much. I was well, my dad has some photographs walking around everywhere like that. I only got to see him dressed for certain events. There you have it. Guys, my name is Jose Trujillo. I'm one hell of an artist. And just wanted to do this live. Because why not, right? Gotta do what we gotta do. Take care, guys. And I think, yeah, I'm posting this on eBay. So check it out. My link is on my profile. Go check it out if you're interested. Look at that. Again, this is pretty cool because I've never seen a painting like this of this particular subject. I've seen very realistic paintings or very dark paintings because, again, usually very dark colors represented the Mexican charro. This is kind of like it was the nobility of Mexico back in the day, and then it just started changing, and now most people know this type of clothing as mariachi clothing, but mariachis wore that because it was they started wearing this clothing because it was mariachis didn't wear this all the time. They started wearing this because it was considered, it's like the Mexican what would you call that, tuxedo. This is exactly what it would be. Yeah, it would be the equivalent of the Mexican tuxedo. And so my mariachi started using it. Which I found out not long ago that mariachi was I think many historians think that it came from the French word marriage, because they played at weddings. So that was an interesting little thing. And I just thought it was really cool. I mean, I was like, man, let's do this. Let's see what this looks like. It's kind of freaky because it reminds me of my dad. I mean, it shouldn't be freaky, right? But yeah, this was the thing back in the day. And again, people that still wear this, they do it to play the sport. There's a lot of ranchers, I believe, that still wear this clothing, this traje, the suit. And I think the people that still do, the ranchers, they have what do they call? Yeah, they usually have haciendas or big ranches or something, And this stuff is very the actual suit and because they don't have one suit like mariachis have one suit. Like the people that dress like this, they have multiple suits, so they do very well because these suits are very expensive. They're usually done with a lot of care, and silver is used. And a lot of other materials that are very expensive to do. For example, the embroidery on the suits, it comes from the cacti, from the cactus, from the agave plant. And it's a very difficult thing to work. It's called pita. So it's a whole, I mean, it's a whole thing, you know. It's a whole thing. I used to love it. I used to love watching them when I was a kid. And where I'm from, they're famous where I'm from. They're actually, it's actually known for that. And you would see them ride their horses. I mean, I think you could still see them. They kind of, you know, they hang out on their horses in the middle of the city. So it's a very cool thing to see. In spite of the changes and modern day world and whatnot, you still see them. They keep that beautiful legacy. And another thing that I learned also about these guys was that they are the ones that joined the sport, the national sport of Charreria, which is the Mexican rodeo. The ones that do join are considered, I think they swear or something like that. They become the Mexican cavalry. So Mexico still has its cavalry. It's these guys still, and it was from a long time ago. So there you guys have it. My name is Jose Trujillo once again, and I wanted to do this painting. Let me show you the palette. I think it's pretty cool. And I wanted to show you a good ombre. There's a good ombre. I don't know, but where I grew up, when you saw one of these, you called them a good hombre. They're very brave guys. The sport is a phenomenal sport, and it's a legacy. They keep the legacy of their families, and you know, the whole thing going on. So I think it's pretty cool. Take care, guys. Till next time.